Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Let me just straighten this out. Try it anyway. There we go. Quality hijacked. How the American National Standards Institute, the American National Crediting Board, China, and global loopholes endangered American lives. A 40-year quality experts warning. Daryl Guberman exposing the global accreditation threat since 2012. Hello, everyone. I come before you today not just as a quality assurance expert with over 40 years in aerospace, medical, and defense manufacturing, but as someone who has spent over a decade sounding the alarm on a quiet, dangerous takeover of American quality oversight. In 2012, I revealed what few were willing to believe, that the International Accreditation Forum, the global organization underpinning almost all quality certification, had come under the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party, actually in 2015 to 21, and affiliated individuals, including one man tied to the CCP, and have been involved with our quality since 1994, and bound by the China National Intelligence Law, Article Number 7, which required all Chinese nationals to share data with government on demand. And yet this very individual oversaw U.S. quality infrastructure through the IAF and had a hand in glove with ANSI ANAB. ANSI ANAB, two names, one agenda. In 2018, ANSI took complete control over ANAB, the American National Crediting Board, a move that consolidated unprecedented power in one private organization with virtually no oversight. But the real concern is this. ANSI ANAB sits on the same board as the DOJ, and actually ANSI ANAB are the board of the DOJ, FDA, Department of Homeland Security, not as observers, but these organizations are also customers. The customers, can you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? They are certifying each other while pretending to be objective. This is not oversight. This conflict of interest at the highest level. Wuhan, IAF, and the lab we were told to forget. Through this web of trust, the Wuhan Institute of Virology was certified via IAF-ILAC network. That means the same Chinese-run IAF that held sway over ANSI ANAB systems also certified the lab at the heart of the global pandemic. The problem is that the gentleman who certified the lab was also in charge of the IF between 2015 and 21, Zhao Jinwu. It goes into more depth than that, but I will say this. The IF was founded by the American National Standards Institute and the American National Crediting Board, and their sister organization was in Australia, ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. Those accreditation bodies that sit on there, both national and international, both of those bodies are equivalent in accreditation to ANSI ANAB, which means that ANSI ANAB, any organization is equivalent to them, and ANSI ANAB are underwriters for those accreditation bodies, both national and international, that sit on the IF and ILAC. And that means, as underwriters, they take full legal responsibility, both systematic and product failure. He was standing in Wuhan, China, the Chinese national, as the IF chairman and also the China National Accreditation Services chief executive. It was ill-prepared. 6 months prior to him standing there, the scientists were complaining about not having enough trained technicians. 6 months after he handed them the laboratory certificate, they said, they still have problems because they sent American technicians, American specialists over there, and they said we did not have enough trained technicians in China. So giving thought and absolutely identifying the release of the virus. And while Americans lost loved ones, businesses, and trust in our institutions, no one at ANSI, ANAB, or IF or ILAC faced accountability. Why? Because they have the DOJ on board, the DHS, the FDA, Department of Commerce, not just as members, but as customers. They have the DOT, FTC, FBI, FAA, all of these EPA, USDA, they have all of these federal agencies, plus corporations like Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Boeing, and Lockheed, all sitting there. And they all cover each other's ass. And here goes a good one. Boeing in the 22-year loophole. In 2002, Boeing stopped direct audits at its suppliers and relied fully on ANSI ANAP certification pipeline. As a result, for 22 years, suppliers were not really audited by Boeing itself, but instead handed pass stamps by the same ANSI ANAP IF loop. After the 737 MAX crashes and whistleblower deaths, Boeing tried to hide the fact by scrubbing supplier bulletins from its website after I exposed it. I exposed it on April 17th, 2024. I went down to the DHS subcommittee with Sam Salapar, who made comment. He was there, brought there to talk about design issues on the Boeing 777 and 787 aircraft, which you heard. The first one that went down was in India. Most recently, it couldn't gain altitude. Boom, there you go. Oops, there it is. Boeing took those two documents down, and we have copies of them. They were live up until, I'd say, December of 2024. In January 2025, they took it down because in September was 9/11. September 19th, 2001, Boeing made a commentary in CNN Money, and it said that Boeing's going to lay off 20 to 30,000 employees. 7 months later, April and July of 2002, Boeing came out with supplier notifications that basically said for heat treatment, welding, what have you, in April, send in your certs, send in your parts, and if need be, we'll come visit you, Boeing will, and it gets rid of redundant inspections. In July of 2002, Boeing came out with a supplier bulletin that stated, send in your certs, send in your AS9100 cert as long as it's ANSI ANAP accredited. Why? Because Boeing called them out on the bulletin. Boeing called them out on their supplier portal. And Boeing was on ANSI ANAP's webpage that said management committee that can grant, suspend, and withdraw certification. And in 2003, just several months, about a year after, Boeing wanted to keep this constriction. So what ANSI ANAP did is they came out with a document called Heads Up 22, which said that a AS9100 certified supplier cannot refuse to be put on the OASIS database, the online aerospace systems information system run by the IAQG, the International Aerospace Quality Group, which Boeing at that time had complete control over. And also, they could not refuse to pay database fees or they get their certificate taken away. Isn't that a tender moment? And then Boeing was made an FAA agency in 2009, who they can self-certify their own aircraft technologies, and certify their own aircraft designs. I went there to listen to Sam Salapar. I stood up and made that difference. And the worst thing is, on that AS9100 supplier bulletin, it says, if you're certified, you've got great quality, we can get rid of inspections. And only if the need arises. Need arises, it's all the same, and we're getting rid of redundant inspections. Call to action, defund and fraud. Just like we've seen with the CDC and NIH, where grants and certifications have been weaponized for political goals and racial agendas. It's time to defund ANSI ANAP, strip China of its power in the IAF, and other countries like Iran and Pakistan, and reestablish American-led, U.S.-only quality certification for critical infrastructure. In fact, ANSI ANAP have 10 different companies in China that can issue an ANSI ANAP certification. What's at stake isn't just paperwork, it's national security, it's American jobs, and it's your family's safety. I said it in 2012, and I'll say it again now. If we keep letting China certify our safety, there will be no America left to protect. And that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. My number is 203-556-1493, and I thank you.